Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Solo Inter podcast. And here we are once again back for another episode. And here we will be previewing Lazio versus Inter, Manish. A big game,
Yes.
and that too coming so soon, not even like a proper weekend, like on a Friday, like just so soon after the last one. It feels doesn't feel like a lot of time has passed by, and a big one. I mean, usually Inter tends to play these at least one big game in the first 4 to 5 game weeks every season, and usually if you notice the pattern, it tends to typically be Lazio, either home or away. But yeah, Manish, first of all, welcome back to the podcast, and how are you, man? Before we
Yes,
get into the
good,
thick
good.
of things.
All excited for two
Yeah.
things. One is the Champions League draw tomorrow, as well as the
yeah,
Lazio game.
yeah,
So those are the
yeah.
two. It's a big day for Inter fans tomorrow.
Definitely, bro. There's a lot to look forward. There has been a lot of news updates. There has been the Champions League draws tomorrow. Inter are in pot three, so obviously it has got some fans worried. And we have Lazio Inter. So let's get into the thick of things straight away. Let's start with
Right.
the news first. Let's start with the news. Let's brush up as to what's going on in the world of Inter. So first, I want to quickly just talk about this because I think while while there was a huge discussion around this player, he was still a part of Inter for a long time. So I want to first talk about Andrea Penamonti because he was giving an interview today, Manish, where he says that I will always say thanks to Inter because they welcomed me when I was around 14 years old. And as a matter of fact, he says that he doesn't believe he got enough chances to demonstrate his qualities over here at Inter. But again, it's not like he holds any grudge. He's happy. He loves the club. We know that he was the captain of the Primavera at one point, and he is an Interista as a child. So he doesn't hold any grudge. And he says that the fact that I'm at Sassuolo, it will help me grow and launch me to probably even play for a bigger club in the future. But right now, my goal is to focus obviously on Sassuolo. And the Sassuolo sporting director Carnevali also said that because of the investment they've made on Pinamonti for around 20 million, they hope that uh, he grows well, and then they hope to sell him to a
Sell him.
bigger club.
Obviously,
And
they are a
yeah,
selling
and
club.
yeah,
So
of course, that's the philosophy. And he
yeah.
says, of course, that club can include Inter, but right now there is no
No
buyback or there
buyback
is no
clause.
agreement,
Yes, that's
no
the
verbal
biggest
agreement.
point.
Yeah, exactly. There is no verbal agreement either to bring Piramonti back. So, Manish, with this being said, I want to get your thoughts. Briefly, very briefly, what did you make of Piramonti? Do you really think he was like, many people said just because he had the same goals as Kamaka last season, he was all ready to play for Inter, we should have kept him. What's your 2 cents on this situation? What do you think?
See, I think we got a very good deal. 20 million for a Primera player. That's good. And I don't think we had this couple of share with Conti and stuff and played under a few managers. I don't think he'll burst onto the next big Italian striker. He's definitely a very good striker, but I won't say that inter capable, that inter level.
Yeah,
Also, I think last time, long back, we had a similar striker like him,
yeah.
Mete Destro. He was inter striker,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then we exchanged him for I think Diego Milito, and his agent blasted. Why would you sacrifice
Mm,
the potential player for a striker right now? So I'm thinking
yeah,
similar scenario. Pinamonti can grow big, but I don't think it's inter material as of now. Yeah, so it's a good deal for us.
yeah.
20 million.
Couldn't agree more. Even if it's loan plus obligation, it counts. And I mean, it's an obligation after all, right? And the thing is,
Right.
I've always had this thing about Pinamonti. Nothing against him. I just felt that even though he did well last season, to all his credit, I'm not taking anything away from him. But I don't think he fits in this interest, especially in Inzaghi's system. In Inzaghi's system, you need your strikers, both of them, to be very good at link-up play. When we watch Lukaku drop deep, or that either that is Lautaro pressing and then carrying the ball. For me, Pinamonti has always been someone who arrives late in the box and then finishes.
Yeah,
Kind
it's
of
like
give
a classic
me,
center
yeah,
forward type. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. He gives me sort of Icardi vibes, but only
exactly.
difference is
That's
that
the one.
yeah,
Ekari
but
vibe.
only difference is that Icardi would always wait in the box, whereas Pinamonti always makes those timely runs. And I do give
Correct.
Pinamonti full credit for his improvement. He
Right.
wasn't as good before, but I think Sassuolo is the right step for him. And let's move on
Perfect.
from this.
Yes.
Good luck to Pinamonti. Of course, he's an Interista, so yeah. The next update, Punish quickly, is on the whole Ranocchia replacement situation. This situation doesn't end, man. And as per Di Marzio, Inter will wait until the last days of the market to sign a Ranocchia replacement. Probably fair enough, but I'll tell you why. And maybe I'll tell you why. Because Matteo Barzaghi, Di Marzio's colleague, has also said that, of course, we have Acerbi in hand, The personal terms have been agreed. He's willing to give up 2 months of payment at Lazio to come on loan. Maybe there'll be an option to buy. I don't think there's been news on that, but we'll see. But Inter practically right now have Acerbi in hand because also his agent Pastorello visited the headquarters yesterday. But they don't want to finalize it because they want to see if they can still sign A. Trevoh Chalobah or B. Manuel Akanji, wherein B. Akanji seems a bit more difficult because Dortmund are not open to extending his contract yet for a loan deal. So, Manish, your 2 cents on this. Like, would you take Chalobah or would you take Akanji or Acerbi? Personally, before, sorry, Manish, I know I asked you, but if you don't mind, I'll just give my initial thoughts on Chalobah and everyone. See, we have already discussed Akanji and Acerbi in depth in the previous video, right, Manish? And
Mhm.
I don't want to, yeah, I don't want to jump too much into them. But as far as Chalobah is concerned, I can see why Inter want him. We all know that Lukaku is pushing to get Chalobah to Inter because he's good friends with him. But what I've seen from what I have seen of Chalobah, he plays more on the right of defense. Okay, like he did last season for Chelsea, he played a significant amount of games. Also, I was watching Uncle Sharma's preview a while ago, and he said that this could also indicate that Inter, then if let's say De Vrij is ever absent, will play rather Skriniar in the middle at that point because we have seen Skriniar in the play in the middle. So then Chalobah could move to the right. So the thing with Chalobah is, Manish, he's a good ball carrier. He's a good passer of the ball. And if you notice one thing, he has a tendency to shoot, take long range shots from outside the box, which are usually accurate. Okay. The thing with him is he's not the most natural defender in the sense that he won't give you full defender vibes. Like he's not going to give you that aggressive defender vibes. He's not going to strike you as a Skriniar in any way. Like if you were looking for similar traits, he's kind of going to strike you as a De Vrij more of because he's subtle on the ball. He'll progress
Mhm.
the ball and he'll win tackles. It's not that he can win interceptions. He can win the ball back, and his dribbling ability with his lean body is very good. But it's just that he's not going to strike you as an aggressive defender. On top of that, Manish, I want to get your thoughts on this before I let you give your thoughts on Chalobah. Is that a young defender who's extended his contract in November with Chelsea until 2026? Okay, what are the chances, even if we have an option to buy, is that if he does well, Chelsea, let us have him because they'll be like, yeah, Chalobah's done well. Now we are not, we are going to convince him to come back and play for us. Why should we give him to Inter? So, what's your whole take on this situation, man, for Chalobah?
For Chalobah, yes, like you said, certain points you mentioned actually covered a lot of things for me, what I wanted to say. So not much to add on
I'm
that.
sorry, but I had to get this
Not
out,
much to
man.
add on Chalobah's situation because
No,
you
but
covered
go
most
ahead,
of it.
man. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So no, it'll be repetitive if I say the same points. But one thing for a fact you mentioned is Skriniar being on the center. I think on the long run, I would personally see Skriniar play as a center back rather than right back because eh, the right back position requires a lot of pace, and Skriniar is a little
Yep.
short on that. So
Yep.
because if any of the wingers can beat their man, it's
Mm,
clear. So Skriniar is not that paciest of the center backs we have. So I personally
mm.
would like to see Skriniar shifted on to the center, and
Yeah.
then a person like Chalobah will obviously do great things for us. So yes, about Chalobah is if we can sign an agreement in the sense like option to buy, like so and so
Mm.
loan fee plus option, then I don't think anybody else, for example, Chelsea cannot change the terms later on. Same thing with they had with Tomori. It was option plus a loan with option to buy, and later on that thing was negotiated and brought down further. Yeah. So yes, I the same order you said. Chalobah for me would be option one, Akanji option two,
Wow.
and Acherbi option three. Chalobah is young, guys, 23 years old. He's huge. He's
Yeah.
about 190 centimeter, I think. And yes, he's quite built. He has good pace and stuff, which I think all we need. And we need a young center back also, which is
Yeah.
growing, not like Acherbi, which is finished.
Mhm.
It's going to
And
pretty much sit on the bench and do nothing. So yes, that's
agree.
my sure.
And he's good at attacking set pieces. He's good at attacking situations. Like we need someone who can challenge them. And I would, you know, don't get me wrong. I'm not, dismissing Chalobah. I'm just trying to balance things out with his pros and cons. But the thing is, my only worry remains is that it's. I know you said loan plus option to buy, and
Yeah.
these terms can always be renegotiated. And Chelsea could also play a
No,
hardball in the
if
future.
if
But
it's a dry loan, then yes, we are in
yeah,
trouble because then
yes,
it's
of
absolutely
course,
meaningless. Because dry loan means then yes, again we have to knock Chelsea's door and fix a
exactly.
price. So it's better to
Yeah,
get loan with option, and part of the loan
yeah,
is like paid as installment. Like okay, I mean, part of the loan fee is paid as installment for the final amount, which I think will be a perfect deal. But like yet again, I think Chelsea are going for their main targets. Number one is Fofana, who are
Yeah.
highly linked. And the second thing is, I heard they're going for Harry Maguire. So that's, I don't know, it's like
I don't
rumors
think
as of
that's
yet.
true.
They're
Yeah, that's
going,
bull. That has to be crap. But
yeah.
yeah,
So
Manish, like,
unless until
uh,
that doesn't happen, then Chaloba seems to be far distant because they wouldn't sell him otherwise.
yeah, and they need cover too. On top of that, Manish, the thing is, Leipzig in the last couple of hours have joined the race for Chalobah on loan as well. There's like a huge competition for massive competition to correct myself for Chalobah to sign Chalobah on loan, and Leipzig have joined the race. And to your words, Chelsea journalists have said that unless and until Fofana is signed, Chalobah isn't leaving on loan. So that's
Yes.
difficult, and hence Inter will try until the end of the Mercato, but they may be forced to eventually sign a Cherby. And the thing with me is, just before we cap this off, I would love to see a young defender, and I just hope if he's signed, we can, permanently sign him. But it's not going to be easy, even in that case. And yeah, I mean, Acherby is like the very last resort. Like, if nobody is really left, what do? We have to go for
No,
Acherby,
but
right?
see, one thing, Parma, you're missing the point is we're signing a backup for a Nokia. It's not like we're signing a
Yeah,
replacement of Skriniar.
yep,
You get the point.
yep,
So we need a little, okay, Acherby comes, so it's not end of the world, like a lot of
yeah.
fans
I know, I
complain.
know, I
It's
know,
just that
I know.
he's going to be a backup, a reserve player, and last option, and
Yep,
nobody else we have to play. He's going to
yep.
step in. So for that temporary solution, it's good enough. But I
I
think it'll be foolish to pay off some money for Acherby and then get him. Then I'll get more pissed.
yeah,
Getting him on a free pretty much hurts nobody. It's also an experienced center back. Maybe in this crucial games, the last 10 or 15 minutes, we need experienced guy. We can't bring in
mm.
a young guy who has never played suddenly in the last 10 minutes who can give away stupid tackles or penalty.
But
So
yeah,
that
but that's
that
that's where
that
that's
thing is
where
always
also the
there.
worry. Yeah, that's where also the worry steps comes in the form of, let's say you have a Manchester City in your UCL draw, and then you're forced to side, like, let's say assume Devray or some two or three defenders are injured, and you have to start a Cherby in such a game.
No, but
You're pretty
HRB is
screwed.
always he's experienced in the sense he's played for Italy
Yeah,
a lot of games. It's not like he
yeah, yeah,
hasn't
of
been
course.
playing. And think after Cellini retired, pretty much Mancini was using him as the first choice center
Yeah,
back.
yeah, of course, of
And
course.
because he's a really few left-footed center backs you have, he or Bastoni, and most of the time he used to play preferred over Bastoni, Mancini. So yes, he's experienced in that way, which is good. But like I said, our main weakness in the back line, if you ask me, is
Yeah,
pace. We need a pacey player. That's why
yeah,
I would
and
prefer
with that,
Chaloba or Akanji.
yeah. And with that being said, we talk about Fabrizio Biazin, one of the most highly rated inter sources. He has good
All right.
relations and connections with people at the club. He said that Chelsea want like 2 million for Chaloba's loan, which is 2 million more than, sarcastically he says, which is 2 million more than Inter's budget. But so yeah, basically this comes to the why I brought this up is because it ties into the news that broke yesterday about. Uh, there were certain clubs that breached FFP, and Inter are among those.
Enter
I'm
is
not
one
going
of
to
them,
sit
yeah.
and name or sit and name all the clubs. Let me just put this out first because I know Time Sport is a reliable source, but again, this news was first doing the rounds like 3-4 months ago. The club has known this for months. It's not like it's a new thing. Let me put this out there. Times News broke the news yesterday, hence it has the hype. So it's not like Inter are like all of a sudden guilty or Inter has done something wrong all of a sudden. The club has already negotiated terms with UEFA, which will be made public next month. Okay. So now, Manish, we tie this up with the whole transfer thing because they are saying obviously PSG is not going to get banned because it's PSG, because they're PSG after all. But they're saying that Roma and Inter could receive sanctions. And some of them could have implications on the Mercato. Now, let me make this clear, Manish, and then I'll ask you your thoughts. That most of the journalists are saying, and even reliable sources are saying, it's not like an outright transfer ban, okay? Because it goes against the point. Because the whole point of this sanction is to help clubs get sustainable, right? And if you impose ban on a club that has suffered because of COVID, and the pandemic in short, you're basically punishing a club who has already suffered. So the apparently what is going to happen is, Manish, is that they're going to introduce something like caps. There was a point where before 2018, Inter were only allowed to spend 60% of their revenue in the market. Stuff like that. So some people are saying that one journalist from Sky Italia said that if let's say Ranocchia leaves on zero for a free, right? So to replace Ranocchia on the budget, you can only get a player on a free. Basically, that's how it works. This is what one journalist said. I don't know how accurate this is, but this is what they were saying. So if let's say you say Barella leaves for 50 million, just giving you an example. So to get that replacement, you have to work within that 50 million or something like that. And other, other calculations, whatever it is, something like that. So we don't know the full details yet, but we'll obviously keep you updated if as and when it comes. But it's not going to be an outright transfer ban unless Inter make their situation worse apparently from the already agreed sanctions. If Inter make their situation worse, then it could become a proper like a transfer window ban. So Manish, tell me your thoughts. Are you already like very worried, like Inter are going to suffer in the January market or whatever the market after that or whatever? It's going to just get worse. What are your thoughts?
No, I think this FFP, first of all, is a joke because
Yeah,
they
of course.
impose sanctions on Barcelona, and then Barcelona is apparently signing everybody. So it makes no sense uh, for that FFP. And also when the Super League fiasco came and they said they're going to put sanctions on Real Madrid, Juventus, and Barcelona, which apparently never came up sanctions yet. So I don't think it's going to be strict financial implications. Yes, they might get a warning and stuff. Yes, but if they put any transfer ban, then
It's a joke.
how will clubs sell or buy? Then the situation
Yeah,
gets even
exactly.
worse. For example, not able to sell anybody, then it makes no sense. So again, it's going to cause more issues. So yes, you might get some warnings and stuff, but again, I think the
Yeah,
FFP is a lot of gray areas. A lot of things are not clearly, it's not
it's a
spelled
joke.
out clearly,
It's a
and
joke, man. It's a
and
joke.
people go around it. Like for example, Barcelona, you can see it. They're actually in huge debt. Still, somehow they're signing massive signings, the big players coming in, and they're selling some of the shares and then paying off salaries, making absolutely no sense.
But
It's a joke.
yeah, and but it's always the Italian teams that get punished, right? It was
Italian
this is
teams
how
once
the game.
again, because why? Because the revenues are not coming in. Things with Barcelona and Man United, no matter how shit they perform, but the revenues are
Yeah,
huge.
yeah,
And thing is, all the Italian clubs have no stadium of their own. That
yeah.
infrastructure is quite poor, which again
Mhm.
causes a big hit on the revenues.
No,
That's
I
one thing.
don't deny that, but that's the thing, we have seen how broken this whole system is, FFP over the years. It's been a sham, it's been fraudulent, and it's probably going to continue with the new FFP that will be implemented over the years. It's just going to, increase the gap. The current gap that is just going to get wider. So let's
I,
move on from this FFP
yeah.
topic. Sorry, Manish, you wanted to say something.
No, I just saying the only way to solve this would be a rich Arab investor getting over some
Yeah,
Italian league because you
yeah,
saw
yeah,
Chinese people come in, you saw like a couple of Italian Americans not want to
yeah, yeah,
splash the cash. So unless somebody comes, makes the league more
yeah.
exciting and fun, then it's going to be a
Mm.
different story altogether.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I mean, what can we do, right? We see the technically before I cap this off, we're used to not spending every window either way. We barely shell out money. We do loan plus option deals. Do loan plus obligation over 3-4 years, whatever.
As far
What?
as I can remember, this was always the case. Only the time when Conti came in, I think he actually really
Yeah,
worked his arse off to get Lukaku,
yeah,
Barella,
yeah,
and
yeah.
all Hakimi all in the same window. That's crazy. Not thinking of
So either
it.
way, yeah. As someone mentioned on a WhatsApp chat, I can't remember who it was. The joke is on UEFA man, Inter don't spend either way. So let's move on
Yeah.
from this. So yeah, the next piece of news, Manish, before we move into Lazio Inter. Oh, actually, I think that's it. Oh yeah, no, let me get your thoughts on the team news first, because before we delve into Lazio Inter,
What
I
about the
want to
Champions
talk
League
about.
the draws?
Oh yeah, sure. Let's go ahead with the Champions League draw first. Then no
Perfect.
worries. So Manish, the Champions League draw is of course coming up tomorrow. In pot three as we
Part three,
discussed,
yes.
and there are some, of course, personally, I'll just give my 2 cents. Like I'm not never ever scared of who we are going to get, because it's the Champions League, right, Manish? After all, at some point you're gonna face the best of the best. We've played Real Madrid even after being in pot one, right? It's not going to change. So Manish, uh, I want to get your quick thoughts, because you have some deadly combinations that are possible. Like I just saw this one combination: Real Madrid, Liverpool, Inter, Marseille. That's quite tough.
Now,
So
if
Manish,
you
tell me.
check out, yeah, sorry. What's the question
No,
again?
so
Sorry.
Manish,
Yeah.
no, no, what I'm saying is that there are some really dangerous combinations that are possible. Like Real Madrid, Liverpool, Inter, Marseille. What do you think? Are you nervous? Does it make you nervous every season, pretty much every season, going into the draw, seeing Inter in pot three, or what do you take it as it comes?
See, no, because what happens, Champions League draws are pretty much like 50% luck also plays into it, how further you progress. And I think it's very important for us that it's imperative we get out of the group stage because that brings in a lot of
Yeah,
money. So I consider this competition seriously. It's not like, okay, just for sake of playing few
Mm,
matches. It's not about that. It's just
mm,
we
mm,
have to
mm.
get. It's like an obligation for us to get out of the group stages, for those funds to come in. And I
Mm.
worked out a few
Correct.
scenarios myself. I did some random
Sure,
draws,
sure. Go
and
ahead.
I
I would
think
love
what
to.
what I saw was Man City, Barcelona, Inter, and like Celtic, for example. It's always Inter
Yeah.
and pot three is going to be obviously the toughest group. And if you check this time, pot one is really strong. Yes, pot two is even stronger, I feel. So it's always going to be very tricky.
Yeah, yeah,
And I feel
definitely.
pot one, as far as we can avoid Man City and
Mm.
Bayern, I think the rest all teams are
Yeah.
fine. Man City, Bayern
No.
for me are the main point one teams to avoid. In pot two, if you
Yeah, I
ask
mean,
me, is going to be Liverpool and Barcelona. I think I pretty much, for some reason, I have feeling that Conti reunion is going to happen. We're going to get Tottenham
yeah,
from pot two,
it's
and it's
happening,
going
bro.
to
It's
be Inter and Tottenham,
and it's probably not going to end well for us, right? Of course, but
no,
I
but
mean,
they
of course,
always
there's
the joke is on Conti that
Conte for
he
the,
cannot get
yeah,
out
but
of
you never know.
group stages. So
But then Inter is Inter, right? So that's two weird things, factors coming together, and then we'll finally get to see who breaks the jinx first,
no,
I
but
guess.
I'm happy to face Tottenham, because I think it's
Yeah,
about time.
I
Because I know Conte for a fact is going to go very defensive on these matches and hit us on the counter. So as
I-
long as
yeah.
Lukaku and the boys can prove the metal, I think it's going to be one of the fun matches. If we get Tottenham.
To be fair, they have a good squad. So let's see. We are all
Yeah.
pumped for the draw. We won't delve too much into this. The draw is tomorrow, guys. So
Yes.
do tune in as per your local time zones. And just to make it clear, just to highlight Inter's spot, just to make some highlights from each pot. There's Ajax in pot one. There's Eintracht Frankfurt for winning the Europa League, of course. Real Madrid, Man City, AC Milan, Bayern, PSG, Porto. In pot two, you have Liverpool, Chelsea, Barcelona, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, Sevilla, RB Leipzig, Tottenham. In pot three, you have Dortmund, Salzburg, Shakhtar, Inter, Napoli, Sporting Club Portugal, Bayer Leverkusen, and one more spot to be filled. It could be Marseille moved up to pot three. And in pot four, you only have so far Club Brugge and Celtic confirmed. The rest will be confirmed tonight in the pending matches. So that's it for the Champions League draw. Honestly, personally, it's fine by me if we get the group death of group of death. Manchester City, as you said, Barcelona and Inter and whoever else. No, I don't really mind personally. I'm up for it because we have to play tough teams at some point. So let's move on, Manish. Let's move to Lazio Inter before, yeah, because after the Champions League draw, immediately the next day, actually, we have Lazio Inter. One of the most, how do I put this, KG matches in recent times for Inter. Last season at the Olimpico, Manish wasn't the best for Inter. That whole controversy in that match, we lost 3-1. Of course, you remember the foul on Di Marco for which Inter wanted the play to be stopped, but Lazio kept playing and they scored, and that led to a huge fight, pretty much an argument on the pitch. And that even led to some controversy on Dumfries being racially abused by Lazio fans. So Manish, my point is that this whole fixture, even if today Immobile said in his interview that Lazio Inter is a great fixture, it brings twinship in those Lazio and Inter fans which we know of, but there is this feisty feeling in this match because Simone Inzaghi is going to go back again. Of course, Korea Korea will return. If Acerbi is signed tomorrow, obviously not, but then he's also probably going to be there. So, what do you make of this fixture? What are your thoughts? Do you really believe in this like twinship of Lazio Inter fans, or do you think it's just another feisty game which needs to be put to bed and we have to start winning away to Lazio, because it's been what, a year or two now since we haven't won there. So yeah,
Yes.
what's your take?
No, I think Lazio, the fans and Inter fans are quite close. They always say that.
Yeah,
But I think now the relations are a little sore because we got
yeah,
Simone Inzaghi, we got Korea, like
yeah,
you said. And there's always
yeah,
rumors that, SMS will be player of Inter one day in the future. There's always these rumors. So
yeah,
Lazio fans always feisty about that. But saying
yeah.
that last time, the goal which you told me, Di Marco, they tackled him and they scored. That was actually quite cheap play. I remember the Felipe
Hmm.
Anderson scored the goal, and a lot of Inter players got really frustrated. And Inter was
Yep.
actually very angry, because a person down
Yeah.
there, he scored. So yes, and I think Simone Inzaghi has a point to prove because he did his job for Lazio. He has been a
Yeah. Yeah.
Laziale for his, I think, whole life, and he also had I think almost 200 matches he played, coached Lazio.
Yeah.
So it's quite surprising where they don't give him enough respect. And he's a good coach. So I feel
Mm.
Inzaghi should take this game personally and do his best, because this was one of the only defeats, I think, of last season. Correct
Yeah,
me if I'm
and
wrong.
yeah, it was. And the thing is, Lazio, it's not like Lazio this window have downgraded per se. It's like, first of all, let's acknowledge like some people have their take on Sari and whatnot. He's still, in my opinion, is a good, like a very good coach, to be honest. Like, it's not that his job at Chelsea was easy. He had to deal with a lot of shit there too. And yet he won the Europa League there. His job at Juventus, people might say, oh, what the hell did he do? But that
No, he's a
squad
good
wasn't
coach.
great.
Definitely, he's a
Yeah,
very
that
good,
squad at
modern,
Juventus.
futuristic coach.
Yeah, and that
He's
squad at
attacking.
Juventus wasn't really great. He still managed to get them over the line. Yes, he fell short at Napoli, but what he built at Napoli helps them sustain this, success over the years for them. It has helped them sustain it. So, Manish, you know, I think tomorrow's game, sorry, Friday's game is not like going to be something like, Inter go out there, dominate possession or something like that. Nah, I think Lazio will take it very, meticulously, because in the last two games also, Manish, if you see the draw versus Torino for Lazio and the 2-1 win versus Bologna, what I noticed is that in comparison to past seasons already, they're looking a bit more calm and composed defensively. And yes, we've seen Romagnoli get troubled by Lukaku before, right, in the Derby della Madonnina. But in these last two games, he's looked so composed along with his partner Patrick in defense. Like an average defender like Patrick has suddenly, sprung to life thanks to Sari and showing all his prowess now all of a sudden. And Manish, I want to get to you now because we'll be talking about Lazio's players, a few of them. We know there is, Ciro Immobile, there is, of course, Sergei Milinkovic Savic, then there is Matteo Zaccani, then you have, of course, ex-Inter Matthias Vecino starting already for Lazio. So it's not a bad squad, Manish. Who do you think is the biggest threat for you personally? Are
Personally,
you
for
worried
me,
more
I
of
think
Immo?
I think it's going to be SMS straight out, because SMS, I
Yeah,
think his favorite opponent is us, and for last
Inter.
seven
Yes, he scored
matches
five.
against
Yeah,
Inter, he scored 5 goals.
5 goals.
So
Yep.
he is not only he can score with his feet, he can also score with his head, and we've seen that couple of matches. He
Mm-hmm,
scored
mm-hmm,
unbelievable goals. Yes, Immobile will be contained more or less. I just hope De Vrij has a brilliant game, because De Vrij gets lost, then I think Immobile is going to punish us. So yeah, they are obviously the main threats, but not less. They are a very strong team. They have Zakani in the wings. They have Pedro in the wings. Also Felipe Anderson. I think that guy, he plays shit the whole season, but against us somehow he gets
mm-hmm.
life and he comes back.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Leave it to him.
So
And yeah,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
no, no, fine. You were
Yeah,
saying
no,
something?
no, no, yeah. I mean, first of all, even I was going to mention Sergei Milinkovic Savic right off the bat because people
Right.
might say, he's the most obvious name on the list. That's not the case. He scored literally 5 goals in 7 games, as Manish said, and he usually tends to be that aerial threat versus Inter off set pieces. He'll score a header or two and he'll give them the lead or whatever. And he's a very complete midfielder. People might think he's one dimensional. Why is he still at Lazio? That's because of circumstances. He can play deep, he can progress the ball, he can connect midfield and attack, he can do it all. So that's why he's a dangerous player for sure. And then of course we have Ciro Immobile. In the last game, Manish, I saw them against Torino. Torino with their excellent composed shape, completely neutralized Lazio's attack. Like they actually kept Immobile silent, and some of it was down to Lazio missing easy chances, but Torino actually managed to contain them. This is what, as you said, Manish, tomorrow we need De Vrij, Bastoni, Skriniar to be on points. Again, on Friday, my bad. Like, you can't have any lapses tomorrow because we know that Immobile can score from anywhere. He can take a shot from outside, it goes in. That's how good he is. And Manish, I want to highlight one more player. Felipe Anderson was brought up by you, and he's one of the most inconsistent players there is, but he somehow turns up against Inter. But they have Pedro returning from injury. He can come. He proves to be a handy weapon here and there.
Yeah.
But talk to me about Lazzari because, of course, at times he gets brought up by Inter fans. As the player we should have signed as the Hakimi replacement. What is your take on him? Again, he's one of the most paciest players in the league, but not that great defensively. Sari is not a big fan per se, but he still uses him here and there. So, what's your take on Lazzari,
So
Manuel Lazzari?
Lazzari is a player which Inzaghi brought into the system, and Inzaghi rates him
Yeah,
highly. And I'm sure if
yeah,
Dumfries would have been sold, he would have been one of the first names we were linked to. he's actually a perfect player for 3-5-2 formation as the right wing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
initially he felt out of place when Sari came because Sari plays four at the
Yeah.
back. So I think
Yeah.
Lazari was out of the team for I think for the longest time until some injuries and circumstances. Mauricio Sari then used Lazari as a right back. So right now he's reinventing himself as a right back.
Yeah.
And yes, his main strength is his pace. He can obviously attack. If we double up on the wings, we are going to get screwed in the left side of the pitch. So I rate Lazari highly, and I think definitely a
Mhm.
lot of people don't like him, but I think I'm okay. I like his pace. I like pacey players. Like I said,
Fair enough.
our weakness is in our defensive space. So I
Fair
see any
enough.
pacey player, I get really excited. And I think Lazari
Yeah.
would thrive in a 3-5-2 formation. Not so sure in a four-man defense, but as three-man defense,
Yeah.
he'll do really well.
In a four-man defense, he didn't have the best of outings last season. He was showing signs of improving, which he still is. But yeah, I can see him working in a three-man system. And while he doesn't have the most efficient defensive actions, he has the speed to track back and move forward. So Manish, going on to Inter's team news, of course, Mkhitaryan trained individually, but not with the group, so he won't be traveling. There's news of Belanova having a calf injury, but it was a minor sprain and he should be available. And so everyone apart from that is available, Manish. And so let's get into the probable lineups for both teams. And I think Lazio have everyone fit. There's no issue for them. Pedro is back. No issue for them, absolutely. So as per Gazzetta dello Sport, because Sky Sport doesn't have their lineups out yet, I'll just spell it out, Manish. Handanovic in goal for Inter, Skriniar, Devray, Bastoni, Di Marco and Dumfries as the wing backs, Hakan, Brozo, Barella in midfield, and up front you have Lautaro and Lukaku as always. And for Lazio, the 4-3-3 as Sari has been playing, Provedel in goal, Luis Maximiliano, sorry, got a red
He's
card
back.
for handling the ball, yeah, against Bologna outside the box. But Provedel now seems to be like a starter as per Gazzetta. Lazzari as the right back, Patric, Romagnoli pair to continue as at the centre back options, and Marusic on left, Vecino to start, Cataldi, Milinkovic, Savic, Pedro, Immobile, and Zaccani. So Manish, these are the lineups. Yeah. So do you think for Inter it should be anybody else starting, or are you fine with that lineup?
I'm fine with the lineup, but I think the most interesting duel for me, you ask me, is going to be Lukaku versus Romagnoli. And a
Uh,
couple of times Lukaku has burned Romagnoli in the Milan derby. So I
yeah.
hope Lukaku gets confidence seeing him and he can destroy, Romagnoli. For me, that duel is going to be exciting.
Yeah. We all hope for that. We all hope Lukaku or anybody smokes one of, because for me, I'm a bit surprised in the sense of how composed Lazio have looked defensively, in the first two games. And it's early days. Uh, I'm very surprised to see them composed, focused, and not concede more goals than they already have. Because Manish, you know this, usually when you think of Lazio, the first thing that comes to your mind is high scoring, but also high conceding team, right? 59 goals conceded last season. That's a lot, bro. And yeah, so it will be interesting to see how this good purple patch for Romagnoli continues. Does it continue against Inter? Remains to be seen. So, Manish, these are the predicted lineups. Let's get to the predicted score lines. Who do you think will win and or whatever, or who do you think will score
See,
for?
I think most probably it'll be a 1-1 score going towards a draw. But
Wow. Wow.
late, everything, last 5 or 6 minutes, everything can change. Either Inter can go for the win or Lazio can steal it away.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping Inter can get a late scoring goal. I'm hoping Inter Dumfries or somebody comes up with the 90th minute header and something like that and steal the 3 points. But it's going to be a very close
Wow.
match. Either Lazio can seal it in the end or Inter can
Yeah,
seal it in the end.
yeah. It definitely is going to be close. No denying that. Where Lazio are a good team and they're looking good under Sari. Continuity helps as we keep discussing, Manish. And they've had a good window. They've signed decent players for bench. Marcos Antonio, Provedel as the backup keeper. So it's a good squad. It's a decent squad at least. And I think you know what, I'm gonna make a bold prediction for once, man. I think Inter will win 2-1. It's going to be chaotic, Manish. Like it's not going to be easy at all. I think it's going to be like a whole chaotic game with some physicality in there, with some arguments, and I feel this is the moment for Dumfries to avenge himself for last season, and I think he ends up scoring the winner, at least one goal throughout the game. I feel this game has to be the one where he avenges himself for all that nonsense he got from Lazio
And
fans.
also, I just
So yeah,
want to
let's
give one special
yeah
mention to our subs. I think Korea and
yeah
Zeko can change the game because both played in the
yeah
Olympico Stadium for the longest time.
yeah
Korea played for Lazio and Zeko played for Roma.
yeah
And
yeah
they know the atmosphere, how it is. And I feel
yeah.
these two can come later on in the game and change things positively for us.
For sure, Manish, for sure. So yeah, people, that was our preview for Lazio versus Inter. We're expecting a chaotic game, nothing easy. Lazio Inter always, is feisty, at least in recent times. Uh, Guys, so let us know in the comments below, what do you think will the scoreline be? Who do you think will score goals? Who will win? And yeah, please keep subscribing, share to the channel, guys. We've crossed 150 subs, so thank you so much for that. We appreciate the support. Please like and share this video. And as always, sempre Forza Inter.
Forza Inter, guys. Yeah.